G'day everybody, and welcome to the final resilient series for adhesives. This one doesn't go for too long, so at the end there, if anybody does have any questions, I'm more than happy to hang around afterwards and answer any questions that you may have. So just as a recap, this is the third in the resilient series. So we've had the preparation of the surfaces key to a successful job. We've had adhesive types and selections for a successful job. And now we're in the third part of the series, which is the adhesive installation. These other webinars that have been done are recorded, and you can get on our academy and view those before and after. So, sorry, afterwards. This one will be normally uploaded 48 hours afterwards. So just to recap on the first one, so our substrate should be well cured and sound, free from contaminants and profiled, dry or moisture vapor barrier treated. And as we did in the substrate preparation, substrates with an RH above 85% can re-emulsify and soften acrylic adhesives. So a moisture vapor barrier is required. So anything under 85, we don't require one with Mapei products. So up to 95% RH, we have Mapei Proof 1K Turbo, and up to 100%, we have the Primer MF. Moisture vapor barriers will make the substrate non-absorbent, so use either reactive adhesives or flood over the moisture vapor barrier with at least 3 ml of leveler if we're going to use an acrylic. The surface also has to be smooth and level, depending on the design, or at a minimum, the Australian standards or the manufacturer's requirements. So the adhesive types and selections, just as a recap. As you can see, the range of adhesives as we go from tackifiers, pressure sensitive, soft sets through hard sets and reactive, we're increasing strength and temperature resistance. The decision factors in selecting adhesive, depending on the floor covering type and its environment, this can all be viewed on the Mapei Academy. You can go through that and see all these there. So now that the substrate is right and we've chosen the correct adhesive, the last step is to install the adhesive and the covering correctly. So today we'll focus on 3 installation topics: temperature control before, during, and after; installation time, so weight, application, and setting time, so what these are; and maximum coverage, how to get the maximum coverage, so the right trowel selection and roller consolidation. So temperature, acclimatise the coverings for at least 24 hours between 15 degrees and 28 degrees Celsius before the installation. Some manufacturers may have specific requirements. Always check the instructions, but this is at a minimum and is in the Australian standards. Hold the temperature constant during the installation. So depending on the progress of the site that you're on, you've got to try and maintain your environment temperatures. And then hold the temperature constant for at least 48 hours after installation. So this has given the adhesive a good environment to cure in and also stabilise the movement, the dimensional movement of the covering. So resilient coverings expand and contract a lot with changes in temperature. Until the adhesive is cured, it does not have the strength to resist the covering's movement. So if we're going to be working in quite a hot environment and the PVC or the vinyl flooring is in expanded mode, then we leave and the building's quite open and the temperature drops radically overnight, which can happen in certain parts of the country. The covering can shrink, and it's going to shrink before the adhesive gets a chance to really grab a hold of it. So all things expand when they are heated and contract when they are cool. Okay, so as a graph, it shows you here that PVC has quite a broad range of expansion and contraction. Resilient coverings contract between 4 to 10 times more than steel and concrete. A covering that is warmer than the substrate will cool once laid and shrink as it does, producing gapping. So in the case of if you're acclimatizing, sometimes dry fitting can be the best method because it's giving the LVT or the vinyl a chance to acclimatize to the substrate temperature while it's sitting there and you're doing all your cuts. So until the adhesive is cured, it does not have the strength to resist the covering's movement. As I said, if temperature fluctuates, for instance, it's hot and people turn the air conditioning on when you leave, this is going to create contraction, which means that the planks will shrink before the adhesive cures. So we've got to maintain that temperature for 48 hours. Okay, so perfect example here. Normally, once we've finished the job, day comes night, it becomes cool, all the air conditioning goes on. If they want to have air conditioning on, tell them to have it on before, during, and after the installation, so they're maintaining the temperature throughout the adhesive cure. To make sure the coverings don't move before the adhesive is cured, acclimatise coverings for at least 24 hours, 15 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius. Hold temperature constant during installation, hold temperature constant for at least 48 hours after the installation. Okay, so this is to get the best possible finish that you can achieve. So installation time, is the what? Okay, so always refer to the technical data sheet. So depending on the adhesive that you are using, they can have different weights, open times, and ready for use times. So this is always declared on the Mapei technical data sheets. So depending on the adhesive you're using, unless you know the adhesive quite well, always check the data sheet. Okay? So perform finger touch tests during the install. So this tells you whether the adhesive is still open or it's gone dead. So wait time, also known as flash time, the time that you wait after applying the adhesive before you begin laying the covering. Application time, how long you've got to install the covering before you can no longer get good transfer, so it's gone dead. So all adhesives are different, and environment can play on the open times as well as absorbency of the substrate. So once you've waited, which we'll go through, and then your application time, you're set for light foot traffic, and then ready for use. Okay, so there is quite a difference. So the why of these times depends on the type of adhesive. Let's look at a few different types. So tackifiers and pressure sensitives only have a wait time because these don't ever dry out. These always remain tacky and or sticky. So we wait for them to completely flash off. So we wait for them to basically go into a dry film, but it's always sticky. So there's no open time with these. It's just once they're in and they're completely flashed off, you're good to go. All right, so as I said, with the tackifiers, they become transparent. So they'll go on their white or opaque color, and we wait for them to go clear. So the soft set, Ultra One Eco 380, and all our hard sets have all the stages. So they have a wait time, application time, set for light foot traffic, and ready for use. So the wait time allows some of the water to escape, which increases the adhesive's grab and viscosity. So more grab makes installation easier, obviously, because while you're working over the floor, especially if you're using tiles or planks, they're not going to slip and slide around. And the viscosity also reduces, so you've got the minimal risk of seepage, as you can see in the diagram there, of the glue seeping up out the joints, which means you've then got to go through and clean it. Okay, so refer to the TDS and do a finger touch test. As you can see in the image on the left, it's obviously still too wet. It needs to flash off. On the right-hand side, it's good to go. It's got good transfer there, so you can still get it onto your finger, but the viscosity has changed. As I said, the environment and absorbency can speed these wait times up. Some people may say, why not just make the adhesive ready to go? So as soon as you get it out of the bucket, it's good to go, because it'd just be way too hard to trail on. Okay, so the water makes it more fluid and easier to push out, and as the water reduces and the viscosity thickens up, it's easier for the install. So the clock is now ticking. You must get into the adhesive whilst it can still flow to wet and bond the covering. So when we say wet, we mean transfer to the back. So dead adhesive, obviously you've gone outside the open time, which means you'll get very little transfer. So check for end of installation time by doing another finger touch test. As you can see here, there's very little transfer that's come over to the finger test there, which means you're not going to get good transfer or a strong bond. So in that case, you may have to scrape all the adhesive off the floor and reapply. Ultra Bond Eco V4 Evolution is the evolution of V4 SP. It has a much higher grab and an additional 30 minutes open time. So with the evolution, you can get up to an hour open time. So this is quite unique when you're doing pattern work with LVT or large LVT areas with a much longer open time, but always check it, because as I said, the environment and the absorbency can reduce these open times. So soft set, hard sets have all the stages. So set for light foot traffic. So light foot traffic is merely walking on the covering while you're still working in the area. It doesn't mean that it's ready for use. Okay, so walking on the covering too early may slide or indent. And in this case, especially with reactive adhesives, you may leave boot prints. So you don't want to open the area up too quickly and let people go in there. So ready for use is the time required for the adhesive to reach full strength. So this is when it can be trafficked. All water has left the adhesive and it's reached its final bond strength. Okay, so this is very important with rolling loads and things like that, or opening it back up as if it was a shop or something like that for full trafficable use. So Mapei recommends a minimum 24-hour wait time prior to welding sheet vinyl. The reason for this is quite simple: is if the adhesive itself is still got quite a bit of water there, and you try and weld this, the heat from the weld gun will actually react with the water, and before it'll actually blow the welds out. So this is why it's important to make sure that adhesive is fully cured before you heat weld the joints. So the reactive adhesive Ultra Bond Eco MS4 LVT wall also has all the stages. The initial wait time is 5 to 10 minutes. Is not for water to leave, but for moisture in the air to activate it. So this is a reactive adhesive, so we're not waiting for the water loss to start. We're actually waiting for moisture in the air to kick off the chemical reaction for it to cure. G19 does not have a wait time. It hardens via chemical reaction between its part A and B, although in some cases, some people might wait about 20 minutes or so before they'll drop the floor covering in. In most cases, when you're troweling out a decent sized area, it'll be between 5 and 20 minutes before you place the floor cover. So reactive adhesives are slower curing than acrylics. To prevent boot knee marks, use walk-off boards or until the adhesive is cured. So because they are slower curing, a good practice here is to use like 3mm MDF if you have to walk in that area, or you need to come back over the area later on to finish off your coves and things like that. Put a board down, it spreads out the weight and avoids you putting boot prints, which you may not notice straight away, but when all the lighting's turned on, you get critical lighting running across the floor, you might see some indentations. That's just because it was trafficked on before it was hardened. The times on the technical data sheets are based on 23 degrees Celsius and 50% air relative humidity. High humidities and or low temperatures means longer wait times or work times. Installation at less than 15 degrees goes against the standard and most manufacturers' recommendations. So when we get down, so we're started south of 10 degrees, a lot of water-based products won't cure at all. So the temperatures that are set on the TDSs are set out by most manufacturers' minimum requirements for installation. So plan out the size of the area to trowel and based on the specific glue's application times and the site conditions. So don't try and trowel out too much. Try and plan out how much flooring you can get in the time that has an open time. This is to avoid having to scrape off glue or have a trouble installation down the track when the area starts to get put into use and you may have had very little transfer or you may not have rolled it out properly. So don't try and trowel out too much too quick. This is a common issue that we see on a daily basis, just people just trying to bite off more than they can chew. So achieve maximum coverage is by choosing the correct size trowel or rolling to spread the trowel ridges. This is probably, rolling is probably one of the most important parts of the installation of actually spreading the adhesive out. Those little ribs is basically the consumption you need for the vinyl, but rolling that adhesive, those ridges out, is probably one of the most important parts. So the strength of the glue and its ability to resist gapping once cured is dependent upon good coverage. Lower the coverage, lower the strength. So if we don't spread that adhesive out, okay, we're going to have something that's just connected to the top of a peak, which means if too much force upon it, it could potentially break off. So we really want to roll this out and spread that adhesive across. So the size of the trowel gauges how much adhesive is applied, okay? Too little adhesive and you won't fill the void between the covering and the substrate. Too much and you waste money and can blow out the weight and setting time. So the more material there, obviously, the longer it takes to flash and the longer it takes to cure. So down the bottom is probably some of the most common trowels used in the resilient industry, carpet and textiles. So we have U1s, V1s, V2s, V3s. as these notches are going up, there's more adhesive is applied. So the size of notches comes to us from the US and are based on 132-inch measurements. A V2 is 1.5 times the depth and width of a V1, and a V3 is 2 times the depth and width of a V1. So rule of thumb, U1 for reactive adhesives such as G19, Ultra Bond Eco, MS Real VT wool, Ultra Bond Eco fix for loose lay vinyl planks, carpet tiles, and dual bond underlay, and thin wall sheet vinyl. So I know quite a lot of guys like to roll acrylics on the wall for sheet vinyl, but a U1 is going to get you the right amount of product there, because rolling on, you can put it on too thin in some spots, which that'll flash off quite quickly on an absorbent surface, which means you're going to have either no glue there, or it's going to just flash really quickly and you're going to get no transfer. So a U1 gives you a really nice quantity there for your thin wall sheet, which you can then roll and press out so you won't get any show through of the ribs. V1 for most LVT and luxury vinyl planks and sheet vinyl. Then we step up to a V2 for rubber, some textiles such as needle punch and marmoleum. So rubber, we need a bit more adhesive because it's quite a bit more dimensionally unstable. So we want a bit more adhesive there to help hold it, plus some granulated rubber, you want it to really get into the back. Same as marmoleum. Marmoleum has a textured back or a textile back, so we need more adhesive because a lot of adhesive is going to get pulled up into the backing. So this is why we kick it up to a V2. And generally for carpet, it is a V3, whether it's direct stick or it's a dual bond application. Products such as Ultra Bond Eco Tack, this can be put on with a roller, okay, as it goes on very thin and is too thin for a trowel application. So you could trowel this product, but because the viscosity is quite high, it's very, very thin. So it's just going to pull, you're just going to splash it all over the place. So the best case is just to pour a little bit out at a time, pour a ribbon on the floor and just roll that out. So trowels do wear down, so laying down less and less adhesive as they do. So always check your notches just true and correct. If you're using the VersaBlade trowels, as you saw earlier, it's just a matter of taking the handle off and turning the other side around. I mean, I know a lot of people try and re-notch these, but honestly, with the amount of time it's going to sit there and take you to re-notch it, if you don't re-notch them correctly, you're not getting the right amount of adhesive out. So you're better off just chucking it in the bin and taking it to the scrap metalers and buy a new one. Just make sure you've always got a true V1 or V2, or depending on the notch size you're supposed to use, always make sure they're true. Also, you want to keep them clean, okay? So they can get filled up with gunk if they're not worn down, but they can get filled up with gunk. So those little V notches, if they fill up, it means you're putting not enough glue down. You'll see rib spaces this far apart because they're quite dirty. Soaking overnight in a bucket can make for easy cleaning, especially with the acrylics. You can take the blade off, throw it in the bucket overnight, all the glue will soften, it'll just scrape off and clean off quite easy. And you can get wire brushes to clean out all the notches. You have to sit there with a file. If the glue is softened, you can just get a wire brush and just take that through all those notches there and clean all the gunk out of your trowels. So roller consolidation. So trowels lay adhesive down in ridges and the rolling flattens them to gain maximum coverage. So with some of your softer vinyl or PVC products, if you're using hard sets, okay, hard set as a sound, they do set, the film sets quite hard. And over time, the vinyl can actually settle down into these grooves, which eventually will show through. And when they start getting dirt on the floor, you'll start to see all the trowel line marks through it because it hasn't been rolled. So rolling not only spreads the adhesive to get maximum coverage, but it flattens down those ridges as well. So it's quite a simple process, rolling. Go back to the video there. Sorry, it wanted to go a little bit quick on me there. A little bit of a delay here. Here we go. So as you're going, so we've in this video here, we've troweled out a certain section, and always try and, if especially with soft sheet vinyls, try and glue to a line. This avoids having large lumps of adhesive where you've stopped and started with your troweling of the glue. If you always glue to a line, when you do the next section, you roll it, you're not going to end up with a ridge under there because there's quite a lot of glue from the overlap. So rolling's quite easy. Once layers down, it's just a matter of rolling in both directions, just progressively as you go. And once again, if you're using the reactive type adhesives, always use walk-off boards so we're not leaving boot prints in the floor covering. So in order for the ridges to flatten, the adhesive still needs to flow. So roll while within the application time. So always roll them while you're still in the open time. Because after the fact that it's no longer open, you're sort of wasting your time. So that's about it from us today with the adhesive applications. As I said, these webinars are recorded and are available in the Mapei Academy. If you want to catch up and go back on anything you may have missed, please feel free to do so. So we've got a little bit of time now for some questions. If anybody has any, I'll just pop out the screen now. Let's see if we have any questions. Oh, no questions there, which is good. Well, I'll leave you there, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.